Welcome to the Stars and Scrums new episode. Tonight, or today, whatever time you're seeing us, we're gonna talk about women's rugby. We're gonna talk about the Women's Rugby World Cup. There's a final coming on with the Black Ferns against the Red Roses. It's going to be massive. And there's also the bronze final. But before that, we're going to talk with or former players or coaches or people who are going involved in the women's game and trying to thrive in rugby. So with me today, you have Claire Cruikshank, who is the national coach for Sweden 15 and 7s and is working with World Rugby as a Scotland envoyee or a trainee for this World Rugby World Cup. And also Patricia Garcia, you know her from our Rugby Europe games. She's one of the legends for Las Leonas, for Spain, and for Federación Española de Rugby. And she is here with us also. And Amelie Harris, who plays for the German national team, 7s and 15, now 15. So it's a full roster of women talking about rugby tonight. So I'm going to start with the most experienced one, which is Claire. Claire, you've been in what's being a great World Cup, most matches with full stands, a great environment. Teams are finally going professional with contracts and so on. Is this the moment that rugby have to galvanize the women's game and push it forward?
I think so. I think the World Cup over here in New Zealand has shown what can happen. The support for all the teams, not just New Zealand, has been fantastic, and I do think the sport's now at a point where players deserve to be paid for what they're doing or some form of contract, and for unions to really step up and show that support for them. You know, we're pretty much at a tipping point. It's there, it's ready to explode, and I think the players deserve the opportunity to be able to focus on it full time, you know, rather than juggle their jobs and rest and recovery, all the things that make what we're seeing on the pitch out here in New Zealand, you know, happen. It's down to the support these players are getting and their time and effort, but it's now at a point where they deserve that recognition.
You are now there as working for World Rugby, but before you went with the Scottish national team who played in the pool stage, how was the preparation for it? How was the emotions, the environment? Tell us a bit more about your experience with the Scottish squad.
Yeah, so they went essentially full time from about June, I think it was. So there was 32 contracts awarded, mainly full time. Some players went part time. So we were in a pretty much a full time training environment from June, which just allowed the players to train during the day. So rather than having to do it before or after work, or players having to travel from different parts of the country, everyone was centralised in Edinburgh between Monday and Thursday, and then Friday onwards they went back to their home or their clubs, depending on where they were based. It was a tough period. You know, it was a pre-season period, and for a lot of the players, they'd never done a pre-season, probably in a professional environment as well. So it was tough, but it was also just a real team building thing. You know, those tough sessions are the ones that galvanise you, that you know, brings out the bonds in the team, and you see who your leaders are as well. So from that point, it was fantastic to be involved, and I was lucky that my employer allowed me to basically work with them all summer around my work. So I've been really lucky.
So you are a very happy person at this moment.
Yes, apart from, you know, we'd like to have gone further in the tournament, and with a couple of really close results against Wales and Australia, which could have gone either way. And you know, if we'd won one of them, we'd probably be sitting in a quarter final, which would have been fantastic. But just the experiences out here in New Zealand and the progress that's happening in Scotland, I think it's really pleasing to see off maybe 2 months of professional contracts. So hopefully, you know, things will continue and they'll push forward into the Six Nations and beyond.
Talking about the Six Nations and the Rugby Europe Championship and Trophy, Amelie, you're playing for Germany now, and it's being fun. The competition is growing. It's completely different. Portugal is in it, Finland, Sweden is now in a championship division with
Mhm.
Spain. Um, how do you feel? Do you feel it's growing? Do you dream the dream to be in a World Cup is it's more nearer to you? Tell us about what you think.
Well, dreaming about a World Cup, well, that's still kind of far away, and I still very, yeah, pretty far away from that actually. But just being able for us to actually compete internationally in Germany is already pretty big. Because, for example, yeah, beginning this year, we were not even sure if we would be able this year to actually compete in the European trophy. So getting this opportunity again is, yeah, we're just very thankful for that. And definitely rugby 15s in Germany is growing, still pretty small, definitely a lot smaller than sevens. But we're trying to get more women's and girls out there to just grow also the 15s game. And so, yeah, very great to actually have the opportunity to play 15s also internationally, and very excited about the next year to come. And yeah, see what happens then.
A question I make always to players is how do you balance your life outside of rugby and the training in the games in the international games? Explain us a bit how is your day to day, how you balance it.
Um, Probably what helps me the most to balance is actually my calendar. Definitely just where I can put all my appointments in and just don't miss anything. Yeah, but I would say just to have a structure throughout the day, throughout the week, and that basically helps me the most. And also just, yeah, sometimes making myself a priority and just focusing on me in between all those rugby practices and the games and university and work and all that. Yeah, to just it's just important, and also make yourself a priority. So I feel like that really helps to balance everything, and also to accomplish all the different tasks. But yeah, it sometimes get a lot, definitely, to in between work and university, travel internationally to all the games, and just I don't know, doing some papers in between rugby training. So yeah, it definitely gets a lot, but it's fun. So that's why we do it, right?
You started at a young age playing rugby, and do you ever imagine that you will be here now playing a test match level for Germany?
Yes, I would say so. I started not too young actually. I think I was 14. And I would say probably in Germany it's kind of easier to actually get into the national team since the sport in general is just smaller. So yeah, with our setup, I definitely when I made my debut for the national team, I could imagine just, sitting here and also being able to actually play then against those, yeah, other nations. Yeah.
That's incredible. Talking about playing, Patricia, you stopped playing not so long ago. You are a legend of the Spanish rugby and of the women's rugby in Europe and in the world. When I speak to Spanish friends of mine, when I talk about your name, they say you are gran jugadora, con muy poder, con mucha fuerza. And it's and for people who don't speak Spanish, he's a great player with a lot of strength. Do you miss the pitch, or you think that's something that's already uh, tied up and now it's another phase in your life?
Oh, thank you, Francisco. It's a pleasure to be here and share this time with such a great players and persons around here. And thank you for the words. It's just an honor. To be honest, like I think as any other rugby player, it's just tough in this sense. We always think like we're gonna be rugby players for long time, but there is one time that you say, okay, now it's enough. Now I had to finish. I want to switch off and stop now this period of my life, this inflection point that I call it now at the moment. So it has been a very hard decision, a very tough decision, but actually I feel it in my heart. So it has been already a couple of months. I started the season with the Chiefs, and I already knew that it's going to be my last season. So imagine it has been like eight long months, knowing that I wanted to enjoy my last season, my last winter, my last rainings, my last preseason, my last everything. So I was pretty sure. I am pretty sure about this decision. So regardless, obviously, is hard and it's tough because emotionally there is nothing like rugby. But in the other hand, it's a personal decision that I achieved all the goals that I wanted to do with the Leonas, with the national team, 15 and 7s, the World Cup, the Olympics, and the big leagues, playing in the big leagues around the world. And then I knew that that part very, very difficult is gonna come and achieve even more. You can always get better. Spanish rugby, we don't say that we are like one of the best teams in the world. We never fight for the big medals or the trophies on the World Cups and Olympic Games, but we have been fighting down there to be on the World Seven Series, to be on the World Cups, and that has been our spot. And what I always wanted to do is something that I learned in New Zealand, to leave the jersey in a better position that I found it, and that has been my purpose. And I think that now I'm quite calm, that I think and I hope that I did that, and so it's time to leave others put the jersey even higher, and me to focus in on other projects in life.
In your long career, you experienced different environments and places. You went to World Cups. Um, have the women's game been growing since your first times as a test match level player?
Definitely, I think that's you mentioned it, and that's the key. And I think Claire also touched about it, about that um, that transition into professionalism, right? Like we live that. I'm very, very grateful that we have been the first generation that we could be professional rugby players in the world because of rugby sevens and the Olympics inclusion. The sevens team and the sevens girl that got contracts, we could say that we have been one of the first, obviously, national teams, not only Spain, that has been like professional players. But we live that transition where amateurism, when you have to manage, like again, like Amelie said, in 15s, like very, very usually with work, with studies, with all the other business, with other ways to earn money, and then also like train hard every day or even twice a day, because you have to go to the gym, you have to do skills, and the level of the game is growing quite a lot internationally, and the physicality of the game also as well. So it's also for your mental health and physical health as well. So I think that that's the time now to professionalize rugby practice by women in the full term, not just sevens but also 15s, and the Allianz Premier 15s. The England League is a good example of that. But we know that when you have been playing down there, the contract is professional, but not all the contracts are professional. So most of the girls actually have to still work and have to still study or earn money in a different way. There is no many girls or many women that still can earn money for that. So I'm pretty positive about it. I think it's the time to change. I think it's growing and it's getting definitely better. But there is still a long way to go to achieve that professionalism, at least on the elite leagues and the high level.
Okay, so talking about the high level and the new teams and so on, Claire, Sweden is now on the championship side with Netherlands and Spain. It's a completely different environment and competition from what you're having last year. But do you feel that it's the moment for countries like Sweden or Portugal, Germany, to give a step forward and tackle the game and really invest in the women's game?
Yeah, I think so. I think from a Swedish point of view, we didn't really have any aims and goals last year. We were just getting back from COVID. It had been really heavily disrupted in Sweden as well. We're fortunate that some players got to play across in other leagues, so some girls in the Prem 15s in England, but the majority were back in Sweden. So we had to be quite creative in terms of our training. And there was always a lockdown either in the UK, so we couldn't get over, or in Sweden. So it was really challenging. But the step up to championship will be tough. There's no getting away from that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be harder than a lot of these players have played before. But I think the more teams that can start to challenge, get up to championship level, or just experience it, then hopefully the game will start to grow in those countries. Our men's team are doing really well as well, so it helps that there's two national teams that are being successful. Both got promoted for this season, so just helps grow the game, grow the visibility, and hopefully we can start to get in Swedish club rugby more women playing to start with, because our pool of players is quite small, and then develop that under 18 and under 15 pathway as well, so we can get more girls playing with aspirations to go on to play for the national team. But I think Sweden going into that, I think, as I say, it's going to be a challenge, but I think it's exciting. And we want to see other teams push for it as well. As you said, the Portugals, Germany's, Czech Republic, Finland, all the teams that are in the trophy. And we want to have a real competitive league below that Six Nations in Europe.
But playing the Rugby Europe, who has made some investment on the women's competitions and the games and so on, do you feel that the players are being recognized in Sweden, in the other countries, or still think there's a long way to go for them to receive the deserved recognition?
I think there's improvement. There's definitely improvement since I started in Sweden. The visibility and the recognition we're getting from the union. It's hard for a country like Sweden. It's a very small governing body with not a huge amount of investment coming into it. And Sweden's also a very large country and has challenges as well with its climate in terms of, at the moment, it's pretty much shut down until about March, April because of the winter. So that itself is a big challenge. So as I said before, we've got to be creative about how we train. We've got some camps in December and January where we'll go to grappling facilities and wrestling facilities to try and ensure we still get some contact when we can't be outside. But the union are really supportive. There's still a long way to go to catch up with probably even the teams in the championship. But there's definitely been progress since I started a couple of years ago.
Amelie, you are more younger than Claire and Patricia, but you feel this growth. Looking back to Germany, that suffered some setbacks in the last 5 years, now is a good moment, right?
Yeah, definitely. Now is a good moment. We are growing. I think, this is the first year that we actually have a second league in our 15th league in Germany. So that's definitely something we have to work on to just establish the women's 15s games a bit more. We're sadly still only 9 teams who are actually playing 15s in Germany. So out of, I think, around 40 teams in general. So that's definitely something to work on, getting more players in there. And but it's definitely now the moment to grow the game and to grow the environment.
Claire was talking about how when the men's team is growing, it helps the women's. It's the same there in Germany. Do you think it helped the two worlds help each other growing?
Yes, I would say so. I would say that definitely when the attention also got to the men, then we also, women, get some more attention. But I feel like just stating the woman, we still for ourselves need to get the attention out of the men's side because we're still in their shadow somehow. So that definitely, I think they really, like, the men's team still helps the women's team, but we somehow need to step out of their shadow and build our own.
Also, what are the aspirations and goals for Germany this year?
So this year, or for the rest of the trophy,
for the rest of
for the rest of the trophy, I would definitely say for us as a team, it's probably the biggest goal is to just get constant in our performance. Because we had some pretty big losses earlier this year against Portugal and Finland. Just weren't on our side, but now last Saturday we actually showed that we can actually keep up with other nations. And so I think for us the biggest goal is just to be constant in the performance and just to really bring it on the field when there's the moment to. And definitely for next year, if possible, win some more games, and then someone in the future then maybe make our step back to the championship. I mean, we've been there, so why not do it again?
Why not do it again? That's the right path. Patricia, long time in the game. We already discussed about it. If you could make propositions for the women's game to grow, what will they be?
Well, I think the globalization of the game, and thinking about like how we can um, increase the participation for girls practicing on this game. I think the participation and in the young levels and in the girls is going to help long term to achieve sustainability in terms of the level of the senior levels. But then also as well, I think that we need to grow the markets. So actually, like investors coming in, sponsors coming in, also like visibility coming in. So it's gonna make the international competitions or the national leagues like more exciting. Again, I think the Alliance Premier 15s is doing a good job giving a context and professional context to make sure the girls and the women have a pathway, as Claire touched. I think like center of excellence from 15s and 18s, under 18s, but as well on the senior, there is a pathway, and this all like in a very strategic sense. But it has to be a moment that we need to give that change, and we need to professionalism with contracts, full-time contracts, the girls, and make sure that of course that they need to keep studying, and they need to have the university and others, like we know, like any high performance athlete or elite athlete from any sport in general is a short life, we'll say. So it's very important that everyone has studies and everyone continue and has another option on the life. But we need to get out of our comfort zone in terms of the market and in terms of the industry, and make sure that the girls, the staff, the physiotherapists, the psychologists, etc., everyone gets a professional contract and can focus 100% or 90% on this game.
In all the countries you played, what have you seen that you like the most, that you wanted to implement in Spain, for example?
Around the world or
around the world?
Yeah. Well, I think I have learned a lot of things in the different cultures that I have played and I have lived, like from New Zealand, Japan, France, or England, like very, very different cultures and different ways and style of playing rugby. But in all these big countries, in terms of big rugby countries, the context and the environment of the clubs, they have a good platform. So actually, that pathway for the children, that pathway for the girls, and arriving to the senior levels and even the international level, they come from a very good platform. Like the clubs in France, this is the base. There is like thousands of children, of girls, like playing rugby, and that context at that level of even like the coaches and the referees is quite good. In New Zealand, even in the schools, I remember sometimes like just refereeing on my free afternoon a game of girls that just finish school and go and play for the school team, and it has been an incredible level. I was impressed how just like 13, 14 years old girls coming out of the school, they were like stepping, tackling that hard, and I was really impressed. And I think that development of putting rugby in the schools and in the universities, etc., is a very good way also to develop rugby in Spain. That we are doing it, but I don't think that is still a huge program. And again, and finally from England, that professionalism context. So we are doing it in women's soccer, in women's football in Spain. Like there is a very good initiative to professionalize women's football in Spain. But I think in rugby, we need to step up that, and for that we need that context on the clubs and that context on the unions, that making sure that this platform is going to be solid for in the future professionalize the game and the elite game, and don't think to professionalize the contract and give contracts to the players but don't have the platforms, because then it's not going to be sustainable in the long term. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. About programs and ideas and what we have to invest, Claire, the sevens program was and still is big, and most of these tier 2 or countries that are still developing rugby to a higher stage. Do you think sevens still must be an investment and a good bet from the unions?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're in my view they're two completely important parts of rugby. How each union can do it is different. A lot of it will come back to that player base, doesn't it? So if you're able to do two complete separate squads, then I think that's something you should try and strive for. So let players specialise. And maybe big tournaments like what we're seeing out here in New Zealand, that some players do come back and challenge for those 15 spots or vice versa. But for smaller nations, so for the Swedens, the Germanys probably as well, the player base isn't that big. So we need the best players to be playing for both, but how we manage that as a management team is really important, because we don't want players burning out because they're having to focus on 15s at this part of the season and then sevens there, and we've got to give them appropriate times for rest, and we might have to sacrifice the odd training camp or thing here and there, but I think that's really important to look out for the players as well, because they will burn out if they end up doing sevens and 15s back to back, because where's the rest coming from? But for me, sevens are a really important part as well. I love sevens and I love 15s. But I think it's how each union works it out based on their player base and their aspirations in each as well.
In Sweden, is the program working well with the 15s? It's like a good harmony between one and the other?
Yeah, so it's essentially the same players. And we had a good relationship from the 15s with the previous sevens coach. And then at Christmas last year, they stepped down. So I took over the sevens as well. So it makes it a lot easier, because I'm essentially talking to myself around selections and who does what when, and it makes it a lot easier that I can be like, right, you've done this over the summer with the sevens, so you're not going to come to these 15s camps, or vice versa. We've had a lot of 15s here, and we'll work sevens around it. The challenge will be if there's clashes in competition schedules, that'll be the biggest challenge that we'll have to try and work out. But yeah, it's easier when you're the head coach of both, because I can manage it.
You can manage it. Amelie, you played sevens and play 15s. First question is a very quick one. What's your preference? Is the sevens or the 15s?
Ooh, that's a tough question, actually. I wouldn't really want to decide. I feel like both of those forms of rugby are just great. Things you can do. So I actually don't want to decide. No, I really do think that both is great, and I really love playing both. So
Explain to the people at home how hard or easy it is to jump from one code. It's not a code, but one code to the other. How is it?
So to jump from 7th to 15th?
Yeah.
For me, honestly, I feel like it isn't too hard, because we continuously play both throughout the German league. So because we don't have as many 15s teams, we actually also have a 7th league. So we play 7 throughout the whole year in our league, and also 15 throughout the whole year. So we basically switch every other weekend from 7th to 15th. So that's why I don't feel like it's too hard. I mean, yes, you somehow have to switch. But I don't really have so many problems with it. So yeah.
Oh well, you are a runner, so that's no problem for you. Germany is doing a great investment now in the 15s, but the 7 still is a good pathway to reach a World Cup or to reach a Hong Kong like qualification. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, you're right. So the 7th program in Germany is definitely still way bigger than the 15th program, in the men's and in women's as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, actually, the 15 women's stuff decided, the women's stuff in general decided to actually put the 7th and the 15th program back together again. So we had separate programs for both of them. But this summer, they actually decided to put them back together so that 7th players play 15s and the other way around. But I would still say that with sevens, yeah, that's still higher in Germany than 15s.
Okay, that's good to know. Patricia, Amelie saying this the sevens is it's bigger than the 15s in Germany. In Spain, sevens have achieved a lot for the women and the men coach. Can you tell us your experience about the sevens and the 15, and you think they still can coexist nowadays?
Yeah, that's a great question, Francisco. I think in Spain, like most of the people play 15s. Most of the people play 15s, and the league goes from September to until May, and is the big part of Spanish rugby. But actually, with the sevens and with this high level competition as the World Seven Series, men's and women's, and as well as like Olympic Games at Rio that we did qualify within for Tokyo. But like these big events, they're making a good favor for development rugby in Spain, because we got that visibility and the communication, the media, the TV. When all these big events come, we are on the news and we are on this TV, and still we are very like small sport in Spain in comparison with the football, with basketball, or tennis, for example. But you can see on these times that with the big events and the sevens, because it's an Olympic discipline, the media and the communication, they put a lot of effort, and that becomes that actually the girls that they grow and they wanna one day play for the Leonas and the national team. They would also love to play Olympic Games. They would also love to play World Seven Series. So it's that balance that is quite hard as a player to play, especially when you are doing this the World Seven Series circuits, where you are at the moment playing at home the league, the 15th league. But in general in Spain they coexist, and I don't see Spain just focusing in one of the two disciplines, because they are living together quite well. But I understand also, as Claire says, and regarding the player welfare is quite hard and needs to be managed for the players and the rest time, etc. That we need to think that actually in the future we will need to specialize the players from one discipline or the other.
Just a quick question. You're talking about player welfare, two very important words nowadays for the game. You think it got better?
Yeah, I think it got better again from this amateurism to the professionalism or semi-professionalism. We'll say it comes also like physiotherapists, psychologists, and doctors, and also a lot of injuries. So they think how we can keep the players healthy, because we want them playing, we don't want them injured, and all this playing welfare start to be like a big topic that we are discussing. But I think again, as same that the mental health, I think there is a big challenge, and there is still a lot of pathway to do that when to arrive to a very good point that actually is a very good balance between the high level and the competition and the player welfare or the mental health of the players. I think still we need to keep working in general, I'm talking.
Okay, that's good. Now we're going to the last part of the show. Claire, or the penultimate part of the show. Claire, what have Rugby give to you? This is a big question because you have given a lot. But when you think about all the years, all the stories, all the players, all the people you met, what are your first 2 or 3 thoughts that come to your mind?
It gave me, as a player, it gave me a home. I grew as a person by playing rugby. It's now given me a career. So I'm lucky that my full-time job is in rugby. So it's now given me a career. And probably the last thing is it's allowed me to develop that family and travel the world. So, I'm lucky that I get to go across the world and experience new things and new cultures. So yeah, it's basically a place to develop and grow a career and travel. It's been brilliant.
Amelie, you still have a big road ahead of you, and you start with 14. What are the best memories or the best feelings that you had from rugby until this point?
Oh, the best feelings. Yeah, definitely winning some championships in our league that were probably the best feelings I took out of my rugby career until now. But yeah, I can totally agree with Claire. Definitely rugby also just gave me a home, basically. And just so many memories that have already been made and more to come for sure. So many new experiences I've made. We've traveled a lot. Not that I would have expected before starting rugby. And yeah, just so many great people I've met through rugby. So definitely very thankful for that.
Patricia, and what about you?
I think they say everything, and I fully agree with that. This growth as a person, all the personal development as a human, not just as a sport athlete. But I will say the most important is that families, that people that you meet, the different cultures, the opportunities to meet great people around the world, and also different countries. And I think that's something that I'm incredibly grateful for rugby for that.
Now, the last question, and you can linger a bit on it. Claire, who's going to win the Rugby World Cup this year? What's your bet? Before we start the show, you said off record, what were your feelings? But can you share with us now?
Yeah, so I've probably got a head and heart. So my head is probably saying England. My heart, from being out here, and I've got family out here as well in New Zealand, is saying New Zealand. I think, you know, what they've put on and how they've galvanized the whole nation has been phenomenal. So yeah, I'm sitting on the fence. So my head's saying England, my heart's saying New Zealand.
Well, that's a good bet.
Cheat.
Amelie, what's your bet?
That's a tough one. All of the teams just were incredible so far. So that's actually a tough one to decide on. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would just go with New Zealand.
Oh, the Black Ferns. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's not okay, Patricia. And what
We'll
about
see.
you?
Well, now that France is out of the final, I think I'm quite similar to Claire. I think in my head, like, and because I have seen like how England rugby is working, not just the squad with the professionals for this, not just couple of months, but for these years, and the professional leagues that with the Allianz Premier 15s. I think England has a like advantage on that. But also in the other hand, as I have been living and loving New Zealand as a country and the culture and the people, and having some friends down there on this team, also I would say that my heart say New Zealand too. So yeah, quite tough question.
So 2 hearts of New Zealand, 1 Filipino about New Zealand, and 2 heads for England. Okay, so to close the show, Claire, Amelie, and Patricia, I want each one of you to send a message to the people at home, to girls that want to start playing rugby but I have some doubts, or to women that are not feeling confident at the moment but have to hang in it and keep thriving. Claire, we can start with you.
Yeah, for me, just give it a go. Like what we've all said, I think you'll find a home at a rugby club, no matter where it is in the world. You'll make friends, and yeah, so just get along, give it a go, and you won't regret it.
Amelie.
Yeah, also I can just agree with that. Just come enjoy rugby. Just try it out. You're not gonna regret it. You'll find a family out there, and you're gonna make tons of friends throughout the whole world, and it's just gonna be fun. Yeah.
Patricia.
Again, they say everything. I fully agree with that. Just go and try it. Go and try it. And if you don't like it, you can always quit. There's nothing to lose. But in case you lose a lot because you didn't try, just go and try.
Just go and try. That's how we finish our show today. So just to tell our viewers at home, the Rugby Europe Trophy, which is the second division at Rugby Europe for the women's game, still have one game to play this year. It's Czechia versus Belgium at the 19th of this month. So you can watch on live on Rugby Europe. Claire is now in New Zealand. She is coming next week, I think, back, and she'll pick her team Sweden to see what they do in the Rugby Europe Championship for the first time. Amelie's playing in for Germany, so only next year we're gonna see them play again. I think it's against Portugal. And Patricia, we're gonna wait to see what she's going to do next. But she's a big name in Spain and in women's sport. You can follow all of them on social media to get know better. Follow, and you have a daughter, a granddaughter, a friend, a girlfriend, whatever. If you want, tell them to come play rugby if they feel like to become part of this family or home, as our invite, as all three of them told. Okay, thank you. So I'll waving goodbye to the people at home and see you next time. This was the Stars and Scrum show, and good luck in the final for the Red Roses and the Black Ferns. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you.